Not only is Brandon Ingram now a Toronto Raptor, but he also spurned the Pelicans in the process. They actually offered him more money than the Raptors did. What is going on? I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Right now, we've got a high percentage of you that are not subscribed. Only about 80% of you are not subscribed to the channel currently that are watching this video, so hit that subscribe button. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, Brandon Ingram left a lot of money on the table to join the Toronto Raptors. Is this he just really wanted to be a Raptor, or maybe he just really didn't want to be a Pelican anymore?
Maybe a little bit of both. Maybe he saw what they were doing over there and was like, I kind of want to be a part of that. But yeah, if I had to guess, he must have really wanted to get out of New Orleans. And we'll talk about that today.
Yeah, so how much money did he leave on the table? Well, the Pelicans, according to Jake Fisher, actually offered BI a 4-year, $160 million deal. So the same average amount annually as what he wound up getting from the Raptors. Got a 3-year, $120 million deal, but 4 years, $160 million. He left potentially, for a player who gets injured as often as Brandon Ingram does, he left $40 million on the table to get out of New Orleans and make the jump over to the Raptors. Now, he did get a 3rd-year player option on his deal with Toronto, which could allow him to jump back into free agency ahead of turning 30. So I think that is a factor in all of this, Donnie. But this is, $40 million is a lot of money. That's a big risk for Brandon Ingram. I do wonder how much of this might have been Brandon Ingram wanted $50 million reportedly from the Pelicans. And I don't blame the Pelicans for not giving him that. Yeah. But I wonder how much of this is Brandon Ingram was annoyed that the Pelicans didn't want to commit significant or more significant capital to him and said, fine, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere else, even if I have to take a similar amount of money.
Yeah, I was questioning that in my video from yesterday. I was surprised that he basically signed on for $40 million, which is largely the same amount of money he's already making right now. So to me, if they had offered that to him, I didn't understand why he wouldn't take that. But it could have been like maybe he wanted a higher number. They were unwilling to negotiate with him on getting to that number, which I can understand if you're the Pelicans. And maybe he just was like, you know what? Screw it. I don't want to deal with you guys anymore. So that led to the trade, and he's willing to take a lower number, but on a different franchise. So that's definitely where it's pretty interesting. But I was questioning that for sure, because to me, it didn't really add up. But if he wasn't able to reach an agreement, maybe things soured the relationship, all that stuff, and he wanted to just move on, I think that makes more sense. And it's also not your common practice to see somebody not take that last year, especially like you were saying, if they have struggled with injuries in the past. And it's not like he's going to be 33 or something like that. It's not like he's going to be in a weird spot with that, I don't think. So interesting.
Yeah, he could have secured 4 years, $160 million. I have to imagine that would have been an attractive option. But again, maybe that suggests that he really wanted out of New Orleans. Now joins a Toronto team that really looks to make a push next season. Now, will RJ Barrett be a part of this team? It sounds like the arrival of Brandon Ingram could actually put Barrett onto the trade market. We're going to talk more about that in just a moment. But first, quick shout out to our sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. They do a great job with daily fantasy sports. And if you use our promo code Bulletin, you get a guaranteed $50 on your first $5 played. So use the link in the description down below and use that code Bulletin. We're going to make a few quick picks here. Donnie, I see the little goblet here by LeBron. I got to take that. 6.5 assists. We got to get that one. Yeah.
What's up with the Jackson Hayes, with the little demon? What's going on?
The demon.
There?
I saw this too. And you know what? I posted a Kevin Durant video this morning, and I grabbed this Jackson Hayes demon because they've been passing the ball so much, and Hayes has actually grabbed a few assists lately. I wouldn't put it past him to pick up 2 assists.
Okay. Is there a Luka play? Because I guess we're going all Lakers. Is there a Luka play?
Well, we have to pick at least one other team. But yeah, there's Luka, 38.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
I actually am going to say less on that if we were to take him.
Okay, well, let's do it. That way people won't accuse us of being homers so much.
Okay.
We'll go under on that. All right, and then let's go. Let's see. Do we like Chris Paul, Steph Curry, DeMar DeRozan?
I'll take the Steph more. He's been on fire.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so this is actually a 4-pick play here. $10 would win $85 if you were to make this play. Jackson Hayes, LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Luka Doncic. Still crazy that Luka is on the Lakers, but nonetheless, if you guys want to check out Prize Picks, use the link in the description down below and use our code Bulletin and get a guaranteed $50 on your first $5 played. All right, Donnie, let's take a look at some more of this here. Now, the Raptors clearly were trying to get a wing. It was revealed that while they have trumpeted Brandon Ingram as an important piece of their rebuild, they also tried to get DeAndre Hunter from the Atlanta Hawks. Now, that's not the way the deal ultimately worked out. Instead, it wound up being Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk, who went to the Pelicans for Brandon Ingram, but they also looked to get DeAndre Hunter. Very clearly, Toronto trying to add wing firepower alongside Scotty Barnes, somebody that they are building around. And then they've got Emmanuel Quickley, Jakob Poeltl. You know, when I look at this Raptors team, whether it was Brandon Ingram, whether it was DeAndre Hunter, whoever it was that they were going to go get, I think they really are a team that can make a push next year. I don't think they're a contender, but this is a good team. This is better than their record this season would suggest.
I mean, that's what I kind of thought about them going into the season. I know that Jakob was saying they're going to tank, but I thought they were still better going into the season than the record would suggest. There have been a couple of things that have impacted that, but yeah, this could very much be a 1 year down where they're kind of getting a new player in, and BI going to get a high draft pick and come back next year retooled and a little bit better for it, and get some internal growth from some of their young guys like a Scotty Barnes, and try to make a playoff push. I think that could be what they're trying to do here, and I think that makes the most sense. They don't want to be down and out for too long. And on the DeAndre Hunter piece, I would have really liked him here, but I think I like the BI on-ball creation piece of this that could really be a separator for them if they're able to integrate him meaningfully.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, that his ability to create sets him apart from a guy like DeAndre Hunter, who can be a higher volume three-point shooter, but Brandon Ingram's three-point shooting has been pretty solid when he's been healthy this season. Again, always a qualifier with him. But interesting, too, that the Cavs saw the Raptors as the biggest threat to land DeAndre Hunter, and that it was going to be a three-team trade featuring the Hawks, the Pelicans, and the Raptors that would have sent Hunter to Toronto, and then Ingram to Atlanta. And then it would have had, yeah, that's right. And DeAndre Hunter. Well, this has DeAndre Hunter to New Orleans.
New Orleans, okay.
That can't be right, though. But
we had talked about Ingram in Atlanta, too. It was the Raptors or Atlanta that the teams that we were really hearing from BI.
Yes, right. And it makes sense. Atlanta, I know, checked in on Brandon Ingram over the summer. They were looking to do something around a Clint Capella trade to get Brandon Ingram, and that was reportedly what they were going to try to move in this type of situation. So I would imagine it still would have been Capella and not Hunter. I think that's a typo there. But that would have been interesting. And the Cavs had to step up their offer to make sure they got DeAndre Hunter and not the Raptors.
Yeah, that's really interesting. If you're the Cavs, which player would you rather have? I actually think I like Hunter here better than like potentially them trying to make a deal for BI. I don't know if that would have been a thing, but if they could have done something like that, I do like them getting Hunter in this overall.
Yeah, and we have to remember Hunter is locked in at a much cheaper salary at about $25 million. Now, you could argue, is he worth $25 million? Maybe. Depends on what you see for his future. A very different player from Brandon Ingram, but totally different salary tier as well from what BI has and what he would be wanting on his next contract. So I don't blame the Cavs for swooping in and getting DeAndre Hunter. I think he's going to be a really nice fit for a very, very good team. Yeah. But now this throws RJ Barrett's situation into question because he will be extension eligible this year. Perhaps he doesn't wind up signing an extension with the Raptors, or maybe they don't see eye to eye. So he has to be monitored as a potential trade candidate, because when these contract extensions don't get done, as Jake Fisher notes, then players wind up often getting traded to teams that will give them one. I mean, that was the Jimmy Butler situation, right? This was not Jimmy Butler suddenly hates Miami. Were there issues there? Yes, but it all sprung from Miami did not want to give Jimmy Butler his next contract. They didn't want to be the team to give him that deal. Same thing with New Orleans. New Orleans didn't want to be a team to give Brandon Ingram $50 million. And so Brandon Ingram eventually was going to want out. And the Pelicans recognized, hey, we need to move on from him. Ironically, he wound up taking less guaranteed money to be a Toronto Raptor. But if RJ Barrett doesn't see eye to eye with the Raptors on extension this summer, now he has 2 more years under contract, but that could put him at 24 years old out there on the market. So that may now be a name to watch as the Raptors kind of rebuild on the fly, we could see RJ Barrett potentially on the way out this summer now.
RJ is an interesting one because he's averaging largely career highs across the board. He's been awesome this year when he's played.
Yeah.
22 points for them, 7 rebounds, rounding up and down, of course, but 6 assists. That's about all you could really ask for from RJ there. So at 27 million, 29 million, whatever it was, I kind of like those numbers for him. So I think that's an interesting situation for them to be in with him, potentially being somebody that they could potentially move on from, but they've got some commitments that they'll probably wind up making to Grady Dick as well. They've got some other guys towards that are younger prospects as well, like Jacoby, that I think they would want to hang on to, and maybe those guys may be up for a new extension too. But their books, they're kind of locked into this core where they've got Quickly on the books for about 33 million. They've got BI now, they've got Scotty locked up. They're kind of locked into this core, so things will get kind of tight. I think if they were to extend RJ at a similar or higher number for them, where they're not going to have a ton of flexibility. So I can maybe understand that too.
Yeah, I mean, they can add the extension on to the remaining years that he's got on this, but yeah, look, I think it just, if RJ's not happy with whatever extension number the Raptors are willing to come up with, maybe that does push him out there onto the market. Now, as you noted, he's been good for the Raptors, and I think this has got to be part of the equation too for Toronto. You look at what's happened with RJ Barrett. As a Raptor, his numbers have been better than what he did as a Knick. And it's not just the minutes. The minutes have gone up, which is crazy. Someone leaves New York and winds up playing more minutes, right? Normally you play all the minutes when you're a New York Knick, but 21.6 points, great. It's not so much that I'm focused on. Yes, he's shooting just fine from 3, 35%, 39% as a Raptor last season, 47% from the field. That's a little bit of a dip compared to what he did as a Raptor.
Though.
It's the assist. That's it. It's the assist. But that's it though, right? Because if you're the Raptors and you just got Brandon Ingram, and we already talked about it, one of the things that he does is act as a creator on ball. Does that take away from RJ Barrett's creation ability, which is what is part of why he's valuable to them? Does that then diminish RJ Barrett and your need for a player with his skill set, because now you have Brandon Ingram? I think that is where the Raptors could say, you know what? We were using you as a high assist guy, almost 6 assists per game. That's going to change with BI in town. So we're not going to be able to give you this big extension because you're not going to have that exact same role anymore. I think that's the thing to watch. Is he still used in a creation role? And if RJ Barrett is not, if Brandon Ingram completely usurps that role, that can shift the value to the Raptors for RJ Barrett.
Yeah, we know one thing about BI is for sure he's going to need the ball to really get to doing what he likes to do, whether that's playmaking for others or going to his patented dribble pull-up that he likes to go to from the mid-range.
He loves it.
He loves that. So he's gonna need the ball. And RJ, they've used RJ as a creator, but they've also used Quickly as a creator. They've also used Barnes as a creator. There was a weird stint where they were trying to really put the ball in Barnes' hands. And I think if you have to talk about any of those guys, they're going to really try to prioritize Barnes, of course. And so I do think there's legitimate concern with RJ. He's only a year older, of course, but I think that, their real prospect is Barnes. But I think there is a real concern about him potentially getting squeezed and relegated to more of an off-ball role, which, we've seen him in a similar situation earlier in New York. He didn't have the ball as much, so maybe he could revert back to that and try to fit in where he can on the margins. But I do think that he could wind up being a little bit redundant with the way that their team is and the way that they try to deploy some of their players. And it's really going to come down to how BI fits onto this team. And I think if BI is able to take that next step, because like I said, we know he needs the ball to do what he likes to do, but at the same time, he's not going to be able to always have the ball here, I don't think. So is he going to take that step where he's able to play better off the ball and away from the ball? I think that's where we're looking at BI too. But in terms of RJ, yeah, there's a real chance he kind of gets squeezed out here.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely goes from being second or third in the pecking order to now being third or fourth in the pecking order, depending on how you want to see Emmanuel Quickly. And I think that's where the Raptors have to question, could we get better value by moving him because we're not going to be able to utilize his full skill set with Brandon Ingram in town. So these are the kind of things the teams have to figure out, who's going to really give us bang for our buck. And if the role for RJ Barrett is now shifting because of the arrival of Brandon Ingram, maybe that's something they have to really look at. Donnie, I'll tell you what, we had a all-time great trade deadline So much activity, so much going on, and we are setting up for a summer of trades. Teams won't have cap space this summer. The trade is going to be how teams are going to make changes to their rosters. I'm excited. I think we're going to have a busy summer coming. Obviously, a great NBA season that we've got right now, and we'll continue on covering that. But get ready, because there's going to be, I think, a really, really big summer here in the NBA. Last thing on the Toronto Raptors here, take a look. Not only are the Raptors adding Brandon Ingram, but right now, if it stayed chalk, they would have the 5th pick in the NBA draft.
Perfect.
They're going to be getting, they're adding Brandon Ingram. They will not rush him back at all from his ankle
injury.
Take
all the time you need, man.
Take all the time you need. We're going to rack up losses. It's all good. You stubbed your toe. Okay, why don't you take a week or two off? That's going to be the way the Raptors are going to approach Brandon Ingram. They're going to get a great pick in a great draft class. And this team, for lack of a better term, they're going to be roaring next season.
I think that this also is something that needs to be considered here, because I'm not the biggest draft guy. I only know a few guys from this draft. I just know that it's a deep draft, but I do wonder if they get another wing player from this, and that also squeezes out RJ.
True.
That can make him pretty expendable too. Having somebody that's going to take up those minutes at a lower salary number, I think that could matter too. So something to be considering.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, make sure you subscribe right here to the channel and go check out our earlier video on Kevin Durant and why it's now believed that he is done with the Phoenix Suns. Go give that a look right now.